Hey guys, and welcome back to Frontier Yards. He is Commander Cockings.
And here's Lieutenant Junior Cygnus 3 Foley,
Perfect.
the highest rank of the space fleet.
We are here today to talk about Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 4, A Space Adventure Hour.
Now, it's one of those few episodes where it actually had some level of... Here's the holodeck one from the trailer. Last year we had the Holodecks crossover. This is actually had the holodeck, and then they told us it'd be this one. So, I think fair to say a lot of fans are going in with thoughts, feelings, expectations. And I think we are, of the ilk to comment on that. So, Stuart, what do you think? 'Cause I waiting for you to say what you think of Season 3, Episode 4.
I don't have melancholia from watching this episode. I rather enjoyed it. I think Paul Wesley did a fantastic job as OG Kirk. I mean, they're kind of making fun of their own franchise in this episode. And like I enjoyed the episode. I really did. Least parts of it. I found that in the mansion stuff, the mansion was, in my opinion, tacky, and just kind of dark and gloomy. It didn't work for me. So the murder mystery was it was fun seeing the actors play different characters, and that's fine. But the murder mystery part didn't really work for me. I kind of enjoyed what was all around that, though, like the intro, the bloopers or whatever at the end. Got a real sense of Jonathan Frakes' hand in everything on this episode, I think, and there's a lot to talk about and break down. I mean, we got confirmation that Spock was, in fact, a descendant of Arthur Conan Doyle again, because in Star Trek 6, he says, an ancestor of mine maintains, once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, is the truth. I love that. Just in case you guys didn't know, Arthur Conan Doyle was married to a Foley, so I may, in fact, be related to Spock. I'm just saying. Other than that, the stuff around it, like Scotty and Uhura and that kind of situation, was the most fun part for me. And I hate to say that I told you so, but I told you so with Spock and La'an. So that's a thing as well. But overall, there's just lots of chunks in the mansion that are just really drab, boring, and ugly for me. And I don't... So it's a tough one for me because it's a fun episode. I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I'm not really looking forward to watching it again for those particular elements, which is unfortunately the main bulk of it. But yeah, the Scotty stuff, I'm confused. Like they did a pretty good job of explaining it without having canon problems. But at the same time, I just wish the visuals of the actual holodeck would have been a little different and not carbon copy, basically, of TNG. So I've got a lot to talk about with it. I don't want to get into it all in this intro part. I just want to say that I liked it, but I didn't like it. It's a weird situation. And yeah, okay, I'm done for now. What are your thoughts on this one? Did you enjoy it? And what did you think about the quote-unquote canon inconsistencies?
I'm super mixed about so much of it. Just, I don't know how to feel, and that's kind of rare for this. It's not quite an allegory, but as you were saying all that stuff, it made me remember the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. There's one episode when there's like 4 flashbacks to the prequels with a fight between 2 of our legacies. And when you watch that episode, the stuff in between it is the stuff that's less good. So you're always waiting for the next flashback to happen. But that's only like 6 minutes of 50 minutes. But that's the best bit by an absolute mile, and that's what you're waiting for. This is not quite the same, but in a similar vein, there are bits that I would tune off from, getting to the good bits in between. In the same allegory. So for me, I enjoyed it, but again, I'm like every other scene I felt an emotion. How much am I summarizing versus talking about it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, the stuff I did like distinctly, I liked the fact they weren't our cast or weren't our crew playing characters. The fact that the excuse was that they were the best 3D models ostensibly they had, and therefore they could create easier versions. That was good. It meant there was no baggage there. It was just people being people. Fun for the actors, fun for us. That was nice. That really helped that, I thought, a lot. what you said about the thing with the mill stuff. I now appreciate having you said all that. The way they played Scotty and Uhura. Now, if you watch this back to back with Star Trek V, you could see that relationship, friendship blossom. So that now I know why they did that, and that was kind of cute. Now knowing that, so that was cool. That I liked more. The twist was fine. Wish it was slightly more telegraphed. Although I did notice every time that when Spock was leaving, they never showed their arch. So that I knew there was something happening with that, because that's not how that works. And I assumed he was either like staying around to hang out and be waited to be phoned, like, Spock, come here. I was already here. Like that joke. So I wasn't super shocked about him being there within a few seconds, but I did sense, so at least they set up some, but not quite enough. And I do like the fact they did tie in sort of 60s Trek. Like they did the thinnest line of like, it's like you're waiting for the keywords of the allegory of TOS. So every time they went to that allegory, you're thinking, cool. Every time they diverted, you think, well, now you're losing the meaning of it. But if you did just be one-to-one, then it would need to be a lot closer to TOS, and therefore they're making fun of it, then it feels more disingenuous. So if it's very much an alt thing, play it for the alt thing. A mixed bag of that, but I liked it. At least the intro made sense with the cast of people we knew. That all tied together, and the cancellation. At least there was nothing was wasted, because I thought the first scene was just a fun throwaway, until it wasn't. But then, my biggest issue of the episode in general is that I'm not sure why Paul Wesley was playing Vic Mignogna, playing James T. Kirk, because he wasn't playing Kirk at all. He was playing a higher-pitched, more satirical version of Shatner, which felt like he was making fun of them, because they knew exactly not how Shatner spoke, or his high voice. I liked the basic idea of it, like how he just played Kirk. So that kind of put me on the back foot the first scene. I'm thinking, good premise, stop making fun of us, because it's a bit, like, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's what I'm getting in my summary, because that's where the episode started, was that.
So you have kind of the same thoughts I have. It's a mixed bag, that's what you're saying. Yeah. To me, at the end, unfortunately, I was like, this is just a rehash of Elementary Dear Data. The same premise, like, I want a mystery capable of defeating me. And instead of an adversary capable of defeating Data. It's kind of the same thing. There's one particular line which bugged me right near the beginning, when they first fired up the holodeck, and that was, I can almost smell the cigar smoke or the cigarette smoke, and what I'm like, I wish you hadn't done that, because they make a big deal of like how advanced the holodeck is in Encounter at Farpoint, the smells and all the whatever. I wish it was more flatline, like it was just a simulation.
But isn't her saying I can almost means I can't?
It could be. It could be just because of the environment she's in, that she's imagining that.
Because that's that you've like they absolutely ran that line of logic to the absolute the right to that line. But there's never a moment when she smells or tastes anything, and that line, as you say, to me explicitly said I can't smell anything. But I wish there was a second line where if only I could smell this fruit, I would like some other sense of like there's a lack of senses as well. But I think that's implying there's no smell, but they didn't go into it fully. So I think that's on the safe side.
Yeah, maybe.
That's why I took for that.
I did like the whole, usually these are on star bases where when we talked about this earlier, when we first heard about a holodeck episode. Yeah, they need more power. They need dedicated resources. So, I mean, Pike calls it the recreation room instead of the recreation room. And then, it's a holodeck. It sounds better. That's kind of funny. So there's moments like that work for me. Like, yeah, I understand that these would be like a big thing on a star base. So I don't have an issue with that per se. I just don't know why they would choose such a dangerous, well, it's not a dangerous mission. It's a standard mission studying a neutron star. But there's situations where if you need power to move, you might not want to. There's other missions you could be running and try this. That's not as dangerous, because as we see, much like in Elementary Dear Data, the ship is affected, and to the detriment of the ship and the crew. I mean, they could have died essentially. So I think Starfleet choosing this particular mission for this test was a little bit odd. But they did make a point of saying, we want to test this on a full active mission. So Small thing, but
you've got to assume they installed it during the 3-month overhaul. Because it was a giant room, they'd have to physically remove a part of the ship, like take out the undo part of the saucer, take out the rooms there, put a new. Because it wasn't a small, it was bigger than a normal holodeck. It felt like, so that was a huge element of whatever, which means now they've just got an empty room in the ship. Because if they're not going to use it, it's just now like.
Maybe they'll use it later in the season. They'll walk in, it's just a storage room. There's just junk and cargo boxes thrown everywhere.
Because it had to be installed. They had to know about it for 3 months. So, I mean, again, it could have dedicated more time for the scienciness of it, which I actually would have loved to have more Canon nerds like us know the limitations. Because say it was installed 3 months ago, it took us 3 months to assemble it because it's so complicated. That's a fun limitation. And we had loads of problems with this array, and now we've finally got it working. Like, a semblance of that would have been nice versus it's there, use it. Well, it can't just be installed. It's 3 decks tall and it's,
I kind of had the feeling going through the episode, and I was hoping at the end they would say something like, if we are going to keep these on starships, they should just be for environments. The characters were a little overwhelming for the computer to keep track of, and that's what caused the issue. Because as we know, in the animated series, you do see the rec deck, essentially, and it creates environments. And I had no problem with that, because we know that it technically stays aboard or gets reinstalled on the Enterprise, well, at the end of the 5-year mission, essentially. So I wish they kind of would have said that. And I thought that was where they were going with the power drains. Like, it was just too much for the computer to keep track of all these personalities and people. So yeah, that would have been a limitation that would have really grounded it for me. It's kind of implied, but it's never said. So,
well, yeah, if we're going to talk about the holodeck straight from the get as the main talking point, like, they knew what they were doing was a minefield. And they definitely tried to skirt around it, but for some reason they didn't go full in the appropriate use case. Like they did, like Enterprise and X01 era did, right? Enterprise, they introduced something and then removed it in the same episode, which was good. That said, it's a perfect TNG holodeck.
Yeah, change the look. Have blue lines.
100 years early. Yeah. I mean, it and also, obviously it just devalues TNG significantly, because it means the tech hasn't changed 100 years, and yet within 6 it looks different on Voyager, and then different on the E, and different. It's like, it just devalues TNG significantly. All they had to do was make it, and this might sound silly, but I wrote TAS as well, just make the room white with yellow lines, because it was white in TAS. And it's just, we improved it, and now it's black. But at least it's something different. Or, make a small room. And not into a closet size, but like a 10 foot by 10 foot, 15 foot room, and say it's limited to one person, and you can walk 500 feet, or 2 people on 300 feet. Like, don't make it the size of a warehouse, because A, like I say, to fit in the ship is absurd, and B, why? Right? So that, first of all, they did that. That was a mistake, clearly. It was fun to see, but they did try, right? It failed at the end. It was a huge risk, and we knew it was going to fail from all the subtext throughout. It was always causing problems, and it failed pretty quickly as well. Like, so the tech is fundamentally flawed. Cool. That said, what do they say at the start? This is on starbases now. And at the end, they say all it needs is a server room and a power generator. What, like on a starbase? So this tech does exist flawlessly on starbases, just not starships, which again devalues TNG, because they didn't say, wow, miniaturized tech, it can be on a starship, which in itself would be unimpressive because they had loads of generations. That obviously, so you can walk on any starbase and there's a giant holodeck room and it's flawless, because that's explicitly what they said. The issue is only on a starship. Clearly it's the people that were causing the problem. So I wish they'd had more limitations in the start. If they'd said, just in that initial briefing, this is prototype version 3, so it's already experimental. We haven't cracked smells yet. You can't smell, can touch, but every character has a limit of 100 responses. So there's only so many paths you can go. They're not fully interactive. There's some level of scripting we've done just to give them we've given them we literally just downloaded the books and given them to the guy, but he only has what's in the book, and so you have that
would have been funny, because it would have been like playing any video game where you've talked to the NPC too often, so all the responses have gone through, and every time you go back to see them, it's like, oh, how are you? It's the same response.
Or,
that would have been
funny. when Not Pike is pointing a gun, she's like, or they can't process Spock and say, but this and this. What do you mean? What do you mean? She's reached the end of his ability to comprehend, but the way they did it was so flawless that that's not a limitation. So those things obviously they should have done that would have improved it significantly. But
Yeah.
they tried really hard, but they missed a few easy tricks that they had certain time in the episode. It was not padded by any means, but it was definitely very slow. But at least they tried. It doesn't work, and I would not be against if in season 4, when they say, Captain, we've got the holodeck working, but now it's for environmentals, and I promise we won't kill the ship. Are you sure? Promise. And now they can make a beach.
Yeah.
That will be fine in this context, or not in context of TAS and TOS, because it should obviously been there then.
Yeah.
But at least you can sense they tried, right? And that's the main thing. They just didn't go quite as far as they logically should have, but they'd try.
Yeah, there were a lot of small things that I appreciated in this episode, like them trying to make it fit in canon. And they even mentioned we now have a way of having long-term warp for 5-year missions where we don't have to return to the Federation, as she said. I wish she would have said Federation Space or whatever, but that was interesting too. So that's leading up to the 5-year mission.
And it's also a great 101 explanation to why you want a holodeck.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see things because you aren't just warping, back home. All that said, with Stranger Worlds logic, warping home even out of the Federation space will take days.
Yeah.
It only works if distance means distance.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did try. And I like at the end as well, even like Pike was very like, nope, in a box, nope. This thing's dangerous, nope.
We know he hates holograms, so.
Yeah. So jump back into this, because I said the first scene bothered me with the Vic Mignogna impression of Kirk and felt disrespectful to Shatner versus an actual Shatner impression. What do you think?
No, I thought Paul Wesley did a really great Shatner. I didn't get that vibe at all, but like you said, it when I rewatch it, I'll have to check it out. But this is probably one of the reasons Paul Wesley was hired as Kirk. It's a shame we don't see him more with the kind of like, because that made him look more like Kirk than he has in the past, I think. He's a little easygoing. I wish he was a little more, Kirk-like. That wasn't the issue that I had with that scene making fun of TOS. I thought the Shatner thing was great, honestly. It was the alien on the view screen holding up the eyeballs, because you know that this is going to be used against us anytime we say anything about TOS looking good. People are going to be like, yeah, but look at this episode. This is exactly, and the comparison in the same episode, it's like, okay, yeah, that's the thing that bothered me. But
because I thought the alien looked great. I thought the eyeballs was clever because Marionette makes sense. I thought that was, and at the end, the bloopers you saw it was the set. They just,
yeah,
she's just over the view screen. I thought was really great.
Yeah,
and like I said, the scenes would have been fantastic had he just had a lower baritone, more like Shatner than Vic Mignogna. It's all he had to do. And like even the uniforms and such, and having Chapel, not Chapel, who I got to commend for using a full Australian accent was a fun. Because everyone did a different accent to varying degrees, so just hearing her be herself was fun. Yeah, it was a fun scene. Although then at the end, when they I assume 35mm footage of the behind the scenes. Who's the boom guy holding it over Pike's phone call offset?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that camera cannot hear that. So that scene didn't make sense. I didn't have to, but like
Scotty reprogrammed it so they could hear it.
Sure, but that just.
But as for the Amelia Moon thing, I thought that was like, I love a good detective story. Dixon.
You do. Hill, I'm surprised you don't like it. I didn't like
Dixon Hill, the kind of gumshoe detective vibe. I'm not the biggest fan of that genre, like that particular look and feel. Like, I like the Sherlock Holmes stuff, the Victorian stuff, that kind of thing. I wasn't a big fan of the 60s stuff. It's interesting we have a new Amelia Moon character, though, and even that little talk that not Uhura had with La'an in the talking about how people are going to resonate with the show and it's going to have them explore space, and it's something
that was nice. That was certainly a win.
Yeah, make them feel seen, and it clicked with La'an that these Amelia Moon novels did that for her. Was great. But all that being said, a 1960s detective, I didn't like the look. Like I said, the entire mansion, while being elaborate and like very I don't know where they filmed that, if it actually is a real house or not.
No,
I don't think it would be.
That'd be a set.
Yeah. But it was very overdone, very tacky, very dark, very ugly for me. I didn't appreciate any of the costuming. I didn't appreciate the sets in that. That's just, it bothered me. And I don't know why. It was just something that there's like a fog hanging over everything when I was watching those scenes. because I love like movies like Clue, where it's an old Victorian mansion, and yeah, that's more of a modern kind of the same era mystery, but that was done really well. This I feel like for some reason just wasn't, and I don't know if it's just personal taste, but it's something that bothered me a little bit.
So I was torn on it, as in I liked La'an's look, I liked her voice, and I preferred it when not Spock appeared. I think my issue is that pacing wise, when they committed, I'm gonna say 7 minutes to just raw the mystery, which in the grand scheme of everything means nothing. I don't need to know those characters. I don't need to whatever. Like none of that felt meaningful. When they introduced the peril with the ship, now you're learning about holodeck. You're adding canon. You're adding character beats. You're adding fake Spock. Whatever. That elevated it a bit, but they committed too much time to the setup, especially as Spock was the killer, which wasn't set up very well. Like just because he's in the room doesn't mean he's a, you know what I mean? That didn't. That's is a twist, but it's not a very good twist for the internal narrative, at least to me anyway. So I was fine with that. I just wish they shaved about a third off and got a bit more in, or had a bit more of, gosh, either literal TOS 60s elements, like make it a literal allegory, which would be harder, of course. Or literally have it, him like Gene, literally have, you know, if they go more literal, then I'm more engaged about the characters. But because it was like half and half, I didn't care who Babs was playing in any way whatsoever. He added nothing. That Ortega's were not part of the ship. Like they're just there for dressing. So, like the entire speech was not number one. Cut. Like in terms of pacing and narrative, like I didn't need that entire long scene. It was just, you know, I that's why Elementary Data is so interesting, because you learn a lot about Data, his vibe, him and Geordi. Every scene is their interplay, and then Pulaski comes in, and Moriarty's interesting. Like every scene, it kind of elevates the TNG cast. This
Correct,
it was a lot of time elevating the actress who plays La'an. Never a problem with the acting though, but it wasn't able to double dip for about a third of it, of having the canon fun. Now, if she had seen, as I said, if she had seen in those early scenes the limitations of holodeck specifically, which is having to work around, okay, I'm running out of interplay, I'm running out of thoughts, they're freezing, and she's like, Scotty, I need more power to the holodeck, give them more processing power. Like if they went back and forth to show how it's standard, the holodeck doesn't work very well, then every scene would have that bit of, okay, it's not working, and then he's inventing as he goes, maybe he ties and deflector something. Like they could have elevated it more, just going, it was very straight for about 6 minutes. I think that could have been far more two-tone quality. While not being bad, I would not savor rewatching that because it didn't add much else.
Or as you say, if you want to learn more about the crew, just have the computer try to integrate some of their personnel data files into the characters. So you kind of learn little tidbits here and there of the characters that Lon didn't know, like that, you know, number one loves fluffy bunnies or something that's in her personnel record or something. That would have elevated just a tad for me, because you would have been learning things about the actual characters through the program that normally those characters in that story, the murder mystery, wouldn't be saying, because the computer doesn't quite know how to integrate that stuff into. That would be kind of funny, but yeah, as you said, it was, yeah, that elementary dear data thing that you said was spot on. You learn about Data, you learn about Geordi, the interplay between the two, and then Pulaski as well. There's a lot of really good stuff there, and it's actually helping the characters and progressing the story. Whereas these are avatars of these people, just doing the murder mystery thing. So, yeah.
Which is fine if she'd had real Spock there from the start, and he'd been in a costume, and she pushed him to be a character, then you'd get the same. It would be then, as you said, elementary data. The other thing they could have done, which to alter the vibe a bit, had they said, because I liked the idea that we can't generate holograms with enough authenticity without extensive development, so we have to use our like most prevalent based programs, which are going to be our main crew, because they are in the computer in a way that no one else is. How do you feel if it had been that they said, well, we can't, better phrasing, we can't ethically use our main crew, but we can use people who've been through the ship in the last year who gave consent, which means Corby, T'Pring, like all of the side cast from the last 2 seasons, who we get to see all again, and now Corby suddenly changed to Pring in different look. And I don't know who else from season 1 and season 2. Like, that sort of, like, everyone else could come back and play. So kind of leave our main characters out, but give
Klingon
them...
that got assassinated.
A Klingon? That'd be Babs, but now a Klingon guy. Like, how have that been?
Yeah, that would have been interesting and kind of funny, but it would have totally elevated the expense and the cost of this episode, because they'd have to get these actors back and pay them whatever.
But then you could have timed shooting the main cast doing another episode, right? Because they wouldn't be busy.
It also would have been fun if the other characters, like Uhura or whatever, would occasionally stroll into the holodeck and kind of take a look around and kind of see what's going on. That would have been interesting. But yeah, that breaks the whole premise of the holodeck not being accessible.
But would you have preferred if it had been the side characters who brought back some 1 and 2 as a distinctly better? Because they wouldn't have been playing themselves, but they would have seen them all and it would have given them more texture.
No, I don't think it would have been better for me. I kind of liked everybody of the main cast playing somebody else. That was kind of funny, but
then if they're not used very well, then it doesn't add anything either. At least if there's other people coming back, you'd be like, oh wow, that's that guy from FC. Again, it's kind of like until you get it, you don't know kind of thing. But it's good they weren't playing themselves. I thought, Anson did a wonderfully sad, like, wasn't a good performance because he wasn't a good character, but that's because he wasn't a good character. He was written to be not good. Like, that was intentional, so it worked very well. Salatigas didn't get anything, either plotline, but she got other things.
But she got put back back on duty. So, I mean, that's important.
Yeah, I guess a reason. Although they totally did hit the ship of the gamma rays with no shield, so I guess they're dying as a crew. Because they were hit.
Yeah, but they avoided the main burst, so... I was right. Spock and La'an are now a thing. And I think that's going to lead to... Because I got hints of that in Wedding Bell Blues. I think that's going to lead to them having a thing and something tragic happening to La'an. And that's going to give us our stoic, don't have emotions, don't want to have my heart broken again Spock that we're going to see in TOS. So I didn't expect that necessarily in this, but the scenes with them together were pretty interesting, I got to say.
Maybe she'll die near a circuit. And so when he says close the main circuit, he's really venting the pain of La'an. That's why he's yelling.
Yeah, because he says close the circuit, nobody hears him. La'an dies because of it, and so he's got to yell it each time now.
See? Yeah, I mean, the sad thing about this sort of show is that in the olden days, 22 episodes, you could introduce a subplot in episode 1, and then again in 4, and then 7, paid a bit off in 9, and then 14, and then by 21. But there was 0% of this in seasons 1 and 2. 0, because he was trappeling and depringing. So 0%, and obviously people change as they grow up, but a 0% hint to then we called it a week ago or 2 weeks ago to now it's a thing is very, very fast. But when you only have 10 episodes, they're having to burn through stuff in a way that's inorganic in terms of how you would want stories to be told. Because we called it, which meant certainly from the first scene, I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's... Right? It has to be in your face enough to feel satisfying at the end. But I wish it had been a little bit later, or a little bit earlier, but they also didn't know. They did not know they were going to do it. But I think they realised, well, let's have fun with Canon, with T'Pring and Chapel, which they did to varying degrees of success. Love T'Pring, but this is action avenue they can do fully organically. They have 0 apart from they don't end up together, but everything. Most relationships fail, and in life, so that actually gives them actual freedom to kind of play, which is good. They're odd. They're an odd pairing, I think. And who would have thunk that Spock is the official babe magnet of the show? He's had 3 girlfriends in 3 years. I mean, that he's literally the wow. Ethan, man, 3 girls in 3 years. But it is one of your friends' ex-boyfriends, because they did date for a little bit. Is it not? I mean, I know people, whatever. It's a little bit like your bro code. It's like, I know she's got a new boyfriend too with Corby, but it's like, it's your friend's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hopefully mentioned because it's a little bit odd. But they are powerful people who are stronger, sort of more intelligent. But now, obviously, Spock should have said in Space Heat, I dated your great niece. because dating a Noonien Singh and then meeting a Noonien Singh, and then dying to save the crew from Noonien Singh after dying with a broken heart, metaphorically from Noonien Singh. It's like, wow, yeah, it was interesting. I like the actors a lot. Those two, they're both very intense people, and as long as Laan stays intense and doesn't go cutesy with it, then I could enjoy the interplay. Because it's a very unusual pairing. Now that's interesting. As we said, do you now want to see Scotty and Uhura have a thing? Because they definitely could, and this would be more appropriate because it's like 20 years before 5. So if they have a fling early, I'm more okay with it now.
The answer is no.
I'm more okay with it now. Having said
Spock,
what you said.
Spock is still being the ladies' man, and Charlie X, he's like hitting on Uhura, I guess. I don't know. Oh, I forgot to mention. We got a new ship. USS Adventure. Yay!
I mean, seeing the title sequence was charming as hell.
Yes. Yeah. I was getting ready to skip intro, and it's like, no, I can't.
And then for some reason, at the credits, they forgot to turn the black bars off. I don't know if you saw, but the credits were in the 16:9 of the TV show from the start. And so all the credits were being hid by a black bar. Which I can't imagine it was intentional, because that's a weird meta joke to black bar your own. So they literally couldn't see half the credits. I mean, they might have to fix that on Paramount Plus in the coming weeks. They just forgot to turn off the black bar thing, because I have that for some of my films. You add a black bar on top. You keep it 16:9, add a black bar, boom, you're done. But it's kind of amusing. I don't know if there's a meta. I don't know if there's a blooper than a blooper, which would be meta. But a fun title sequence. I mean, it was genuinely charming as all hell to see 60s content in this show. I just wish they didn't make fun of TOS as much at the start, because as well as nice as it was still played for being cheap and silly, and TOS was not played for cheap and silly. It was the most expensive TV show at the time. It was Isaac Asimov and all these really, really high. Well,
they point that out. They say, how expensive it is to make a space show like this.
Yeah. Like, it was a mixed bag of you know what I mean. I wish they'd gone a little bit less silly with the intro, like just a tad.
Yeah.
Costume's fine, set fine, just a little bit less.
Yeah, and then the end credits, of course, the bloopers, whatever. I love the Riker maneuver attempt. Had to do that with Frakes. That was awesome. So kudos to that. Like, that's awesome.
And then the wonderfulness of seeing the fancy captain's chair be destroyed, and it's just a chair underneath. Because that's true. Every captain's chair, until a certain point, was just a car chair that they put stuff around. Like, you could buy a Type 6 shuttle chair and just change upholstery, and that was it. Yeah, that was really cute. Were they saying that was an in-show canon show? Or was that invented for the murder mystery book?
I think it was for the murder mystery book.
So that TV show is canon in the book series?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm glad that, I thought at first it was Paul Wesley messing around on a holodeck on a starbase.
I thought that, and I was excited, and then it wasn't.
Yeah. And then, but I thought, okay, that was just a fun little thing that they did. Okay, moving on now to the mystery. And then you see the Last Frontier poster in the guy's room, and then all of a sudden you get introduced to all the actors, and it's like, yeah, that's awesome that they're tying that in to the murder mystery. So yeah,
that really helped. That really helped that stand out a bit. But I would have absolutely loved, because previous episodes we've seen some bits in the trailers that felt like they were going bigger and it being smaller. I wish they'd actually played the episode as in like Data's Day, whereby everyone gets to play the holodeck and test it, and so that was Paul Wesley's fantasy.
Yeah.
Laan's was murder mystery. Spock, like, everyone got something, and they're like vignettes. Because let's be honest, you could hire a mansion living room, so you don't need to build the set. That cheap set was a cheap set on purpose, right? They could do that just fine. So I was hoping that was like almost like a mini anthology. And then what would Anson Mountain do? Would he be probably? Oh, he'd be Western, wouldn't he? Because he loves horses. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Like, and then he could say, well, this doesn't quite feel like Lucy back home. I sense no heat from her. I need the heat to it was fun the way it was done, but that I thought was where they were going. I was quite excited because to see Paul Wesley act as Vic Mignogna, as Shatner, as Kirk, and then see Spock walk in and say, Lieutenant Wesley, what are you wearing? Like, have that interplay would have been really, really funny. Him turn out of the Shatner into his version of Kirk would have been
I think we still have the potential for future holodeck episodes. All you have to do is be on recreation, leave it at a starbase.
True.
And anybody can use it. And I'm sure there might be one more, maybe. But I don't know if this is something they really want to revisit. Because, like you said earlier, it was pushing the line. But they did a really good job of explaining it.
This is like how you'd hope a visual retcon partial reboot show would approach it. Mostly right, but we don't want to compromise our own story, even though not having smell played no part, so they could have done that, but whatever. I just wish it was a smaller room and not yellow lines. Like, if the yellow lines were physical metal and, like, sticking out in silver girders and the room was white, then it'd be aesthetically the same, but the tech would be a bit younger.
And you got one or two, like, goes nowhere, does nothing tubes up at the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that room is... I mean, at some point, you know, you could probably do the math on how big that room was and how much of the Enterprise interior it takes up. And it's like, how much of the ship do they sacrifice? Is that the entire middle of the saucer? Right? Because that thing had to be
that's where the computer
somewhere.
core would be, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, not necessarily the middle, but...
It's at least 2 or 3 decks high by the looks of it when they go in it.
I mean, there's a lot of the ship they dedicated to remove stuff. I know they don't care about internal sizing because we've seen every set. Like, there's no... Right? But, like, that's why if it had been a third the size, it would have been more impressive to me. Like, wow, we're going forwards and... Yeah.
They just installed it in half of Pike's quarters. He gave them permission. That's just half of his quarter size.
It was his remodel, yeah. They tried really hard, but with a few tweaks, it could have been exceptional. But it was pretty good considering, and I think what we'd said previous weeks, they tend not to fall into the big traps of their weird canon problems, Trelane, or apart from the Gorn, but that's a whole different thing. And I think they've once again not fallen into the trap. They just haven't quite escaped cut-free. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do give them a lot of credit, though, for the way they approached it, though. Like, they didn't just glaze over it. They tried to address issues, so... But anyway, that's our take on this episode. It was fun, but confusing. Well, not confusing. I don't know how I feel about rewatching it, because I'm going to be bored a lot during the mystery elements of it. And, yeah, so... We want to hear from you guys. Comment down below in the comment section what you thought about our analysis, what you think about the holodeck, all that stuff. We want to hear it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and please hit that like button. It means a lot to the algorithm gods. And by all means, click the notification bell icon so you don't miss any lives with us or any edited content.
And if you want to support what we do here every single week, sometimes, Stuart, all the time, several times a week, goodness, then you can via Patreon. It's monthly, or join the channel, also monthly. And we do require and need and help with monthly support to help us do what we do, or support us one-time donations via PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com, or super chat on the live, or super thanks on a video, or buy a shirt at a link down below. Yeah,
all the things.
All the things.
So until our next holodeck adventure, everyone, he is Commander Cockings.
He's kind of Foley.
Bye,
guys.